Boker Tov, Shalom Elechem. Good morning and peace be upon you. It's Mikael once again on April 30th, 2014, Aviv 30, 2014, 5099, Slika. Today is going to be a very intense day. We're going to read some things that are going on that has not been put in the news. I have two articles that I'm going to read that are going to more than likely blow your mind. If you have not heard yet the news with all of the, Donald Sterling situation going on, with the Cliven Bundy situation going on, with the missing plane, the Ukraine situation, of course, the tornadoes. I mean, there's so much really that is in the midst of us. But we're going to take a new angle that the news will definitely not present, because it has portrayed this institution, really a corporation, as well as an individual who is at the head of the corporation, in a light that is not true. It's not a true light. And that corporation, and I do mean corporation, is none other than the Roman Catholic Church, or the Vatican, or the Holy See, the papacy. Okay, so let's make that clear. I want to start out in reading some verses. We're going to start in the book of Revelation. We're going to read the 18th chapter. Well, let me kind of preface it. Let me go back somewhat. Okay. Let me go to the 13th chapter. Well, no, we're going to go before that. We're going to go to the book of Daniel. It's important to establish the reality of this beast. We're going to go to the 7th chapter. So when you read the 7th chapter and the 7th verse, it says, "After this I looked in the night visions, and saw a fourth beast, fearsome and burly, exceedingly strong, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and crushed, and trampled down the rest with its feet. And it was different from all the beasts that were before it, and it had 10 horns." Okay, so this is the description of this fourth beast of Rome. And this is scholarly information that has even provided proof that Rome is that fourth beast. It is the fourth empire in the biblical narrative that speaks of Babel, or the kingdom of Babylon, the kingdom of Media Persia, or ancient Iran, which Babylon is ancient Iraq. You have Greece, and then you have Rome. Okay, so this is what he said, verse 23. "The fourth beast is the fourth rain on earth, which is different from all other rains, and it devours all the earth, tramples it down, and crushes it. And the 10 horns are 10 sovereigns from this reign. They shall rise, and another shall rise after them. And it is more different, and it is different from the first ones. And it humbles 3 sovereigns, and it speaks words against the Most High, and it wears out the set apart ones of the Most High, and it intends to change appointed times and law, but they are given into its hand for a time, and times, and half a time." Now, this is where this article is really going to strike. I'm going to get to it, but we're going to have some other passages first, and we're going to come back to this verse. It says, "But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away its rule." Now listen to this, okay? "To cut off and destroy unto the end. And the kingdom, and the reign, and the rulership, and the greatness of the reigns under all the heavens shall be given to the people, the set apart ones of the Most High. His reign is an everlasting reign, and all rulerships shall serve and obey him." We're going to get back to that verse most definitely. Those are verses 26 and 27. We're going to come back to that. But this is an identification of the fourth beast on earth, which is Rome, which is the present beastly kingdom that is reigning on earth now. It has been reigning ever since it came into power. And this is around, I want to say in the 500s. And it reigned well for 1,000 years. Understand, the First Reich reigned for at least 1,000 years. And then the Second Reich, which was a Germanic empire, ruled as well. And the Third Reich, we know, is Nazi Germany. But now we're getting near the Fourth Reich. Well, the Fourth Reich is here. Let's not be confused. It is here, but it is now about to fall, okay? And so we're going to read from the book of Revelation. And it is singular, not revelations. I hear so many people call it revelations. It's revelation, okay? The Hebrew word is chazon, the vision of the revelation. I want to check something real quick. They said it developed in the Middle Ages around 962, I think. Maybe a little bit before. This is the Roman Empire when it finally defeated its last enemy, the Visigoths, and then became the true power of Europe. 962 is the year that it began to reign unchallenged. Excuse me. Sorry you had to see that. But let's go and get into this. This is Revelation 18, 1 through 3. It says, after this I saw another messenger coming down from the heaven, having great authority, and the earth was lightened from his esteem. And he cried out with a mighty voice, saying, Babel the great is fallen, and has become a dwelling place of demons, a haunt for every unclean spirit, and a haunt for every unclean and hated bird, because all the nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her whoring, and the sovereigns of the earth have committed whoring with her, and the merchants of the earth have become rich through the power of her riotous living. So this is letting you know Babylon is fallen, okay? And it is because of her sins that have reached up into the nostrils of heaven, the stench of her sins, that has caused her to become a hellhole, okay? It is a hellhole. It is a living hellhole, okay? And because of this, the Father, through his people, will have to judge this particular kingdom. I want to read another verse. This is the book of Nahum, the scroll of Nahum. And we're going to read the first 6 verses, and then I'll have one more verse. Then we're going to get to these articles, okay? So, Nahum, this is the 3rd chapter. It says, woe to the city of blood. This is a city that has spilled blood and spirit. Understand the spirit of this city. Now, this was speaking of Nineveh in particular, but Nineveh was one of the Assyrian strongholds, which also was a part of the Babylonian Empire. So this is a spirit that has morphed throughout history down the line, okay? So woe to the city of blood. All of it is a lie, filled with plunder. The prey is not lacking. And unfortunately, we're going to see a lot of who the prey are and who the prey have been when we read these articles. The sound of a whip and the sound of rattling wheels, of galloping horses, of jolting chariots, mounted horsemen with bright sword and glittering spear, and many wounded, and a mass of dead bodies, and no end of corpses. They stumble over the corpses. And if you're familiar with the history of the Crusades and the Inquisitions, and the amount of macabre that the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican, has spread over the years, this is not something that is far-fetched as far as them stumbling over bodies. They have been known as the most violent, vicious, heartless, murderous institution on earth. Period. Okay? history will record this and has recorded this, okay? Because of the many whorings of the well-favored whore. She's well-favored, though, in the eyes of the world. They still look at the Roman Catholic Church, the Vatican, like, oh, they do such good things. Not. Behind the scenes, they're not. And especially in history, but in Europe during this Holy Roman Empire, they were very cruel, very barbarous, very beastly like, okay? And behind the scenes, they're very beastly. They have an institution from which the present Pope comes from, the Jesuits, that are just gully. There's no other way to put it. They are gully. No other way to put it. Because of the many whorings of the well-favored whore, the mistress of sorceries, who sells nations by her whorings and clans by her sorceries. See, I am against you, declares the Most High. Now, that shuts it down. That shuts it down. When the Most High is against you, you're a rap. I am against you, declares the Most High, Yah of hosts, and shall lift up your skirts over your face. What's the purpose of that? And shall show nations your nakedness and kingdoms your shame. And this is what we're going to get into today. And I shall cast abominations upon you and treat you as foolish and make a spectacle of you. One more verse. We're going to listen to the master's little word, what he commands. Okay, this is Luke 12, 1 through 3. But yes, it is time to expose her nakedness and reveal her shame. Show all the nations her shame. And it is a shame what they have done. But they can't deny it. They cannot deny it. Luke 12, this is verse 2 and 3. This is what the master says. The master teacher says, whatever is concealed shall be revealed, and whatever is hidden shall be known. So whatever you have said in the dark shall be heard in the light, and what you have spoken in the ear in inner rooms shall be proclaimed on the housetops. It's about that time to proclaim it. And it has been proclaimed, matter of fact, on the 20th, which most of the world of Christendom recognizes as Easter, there was a proclamation made, but we're going to get to that proclamation later and see what it was about. But this is an article that I found on Monday on the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State, which is moderated by Reverend Kevin Annett, who is of Canada. The name of the article is called The Birth of a New Era, The End of Papal Authority and Corporatism, and the Rise of a New Common Law Covenant. Kevin Annett, okay? This is an ITCCS exclusive report that was written last Friday, okay? This is the 25th, of course, last Friday. And it was issued through Common Law News Service, Maastricht in Rome. This is the Maastricht Proclamation, okay? I'm going to read this article. Then I have one more article to read. Last Easter Sunday, in action akin to Martin Luther's posting of his 95 Theses, a lone figure placed a proclamation on the door of the oldest Catholic church outside of Italy and announced the end of an era and the birth of another. So if you're familiar with the Protestant Reformation, when Luther posted his 95 Theses on the oldest door of one of the Catholic churches in Rome, it created a revolution, okay? And people started to move in response to this. But the thing is, what Luther did not do, which is what he should have done, was toppled the Catholic Church. He should have destroyed it. He should have completely exposed it for what it was and not kept it around, in the sense that he still remained under its authority by still observing the Sunday Sabbath, by still observing all the feast days of the church, which still kept it under its umbrella, okay? It kept it under its authority. But what this proclamation has done was ended the era of the Catholic Church, okay? This is another death blow that it had received after General Berthier in 1798 cut it off. There's no coming back from this. So like Luther, Kevin Annett is a renegade clergyman who is caught in a life and death struggle with the oldest corporation, like I said earlier, with the oldest corporation on our planet, the Church of Rome. But unlike the defrocked monk, who was Martin Luther, Annett represents a movement aiming not to reform that church. So he wasn't trying to reform it. There's no way you can reform something that is beyond reform. but abolish it entirely because of its irredeemable criminal nature. This is Satan's institution on earth, one of them anyway. This is one of Satan's, and this is the most effective one that he has used. And that abolition was announced this past Sunday. The manifesto posted by Kevin Annett on the door of St. Martin's Catholic Church is called the moo-ay Proclamation and invokes both international law and the law of heaven to declare the legal and spiritual abolition of the Church of Rome. The proclamation effectively nullifies the authority of the Catholic Church under the very laws and legitimacy by which the latter claims to operate. But the repercussions of the Reverend Annett's actions go far beyond Rome. Interviewed today in Spain, where he is meeting with eyewitnesses to Vatican crimes, Annett comments, these Vatican crimes include ritual murder, child trafficking, and genocide, of which last year the Queen of England was found guilty in common law court, as well as Pope Benedict XVI, aka Joseph Ratzinger, was found guilty and was forced to resign at the threat of seizing the church's wealth. The Knights of Malta, an article I read, strongly suggested he resign. And now he operates as Pope Emeritus, which is still the Pope. He is still a Pope. And you have the anti-Pope Francis, who does not even live in St. Peter's Square, does not even receive any bodyguards from the Vatican because he has Jesuit protection. So it's very clever how they've done this, okay? And the Jesuits, you have to know, are the Marines of the Vatican, trained in all kinds of intrigue and stealth and warfare tactics. Very, very intense, okay? So he goes on to say the modern Vatican is really the creation of Italian fascism, okay? Listen to this. Whose Lateran Treaty in 1929, which is when the deadly wound was healed, that General Berthier of Napoleon cut off the Vatican, deposed the Pope, sent him into exile, removed the temporal power of the Vatican. This is documented history. That's the death blow, okay? That's the mortal wound that it's spoken of in Revelation 13, which it began to be healed right here with the Lateran Treaty in 1929 when Benito Mussolini signed the Lateran Treaty with, I do believe it was Pope, I don't remember exactly who the Pope was at the time, so I won't get into that. I'll post it though, okay? So the modern Vatican is really the creation of Italian fascism, whose Lateran Treaty in 1929 established a modern corporation called the Roman Catholic Church, a de facto but legally fictitious and criminal body. In turn, that criminal syndicate has helped spawn the horrors of the modern corporatist era, starting with Nazi Germany and leading to the present global New World Order. This is the head of the New World Order. So by legally and spiritually disestablishing the Church of Rome, we are also dismantling the corporatist order and all of the de facto tyrannical authorities in the world, whether they be corporations, governments, or private courts. So this includes London City, which is its financial arm. This includes the District of Columbia, which is its military/political arm. They ain't gonna go out without a fight. You understand that. But we have the forces of nature on our side, and we have, most importantly, the Most High on our side, okay? And we have to understand that and stand in that and move accordingly. But these beasts are done. In other words, the moo-ay Proclamation is really a call to arms to all people to re-establish lawful de jure society across our planet under the supremacy of the divine law of equality and peace, what we know as the common law. In effect, what began in Rome on a bleak February day in 1929 ended last Easter Sunday, when the terms by which the Vatican operates as an overt criminal syndicate were lawfully negated under the terms of international law. They were negated lawfully. So while the church may continue to function as a de facto power, which is an illegitimate power, it does so as a rogue criminal body with no authority and no right to its own property, wealth, or laws. So let's read this again so you can really see what this scripture is, how this is fulfilling prophecy. Okay, this is a fulfillment of prophecy undeniably. It says this in verse 26 of Daniel 7. But the judgment shall sit, and they shall take away its rule. This is the fourth beast that this is speaking of. The judgment shall sit, and they shall take away its rule, to cut off and to destroy until the end, as the reign and the rulership and the greatness of the reigns under all the heavens shall be given to the people, the set apart ones of the Most High. His reign is an everlasting reign, and all rulership shall serve and obey him. So listen, what does this new step mean for the 20-year campaign by Kevin Annett to expose, lift up the skirt, and stop the murder and trafficking of children? Now, Bergoglio was the Archbishop of Latin America and was in Argentina, where the junta that was taking place under one of these dictatorial rulers. I forgot the name. I'll post his name as well. But they were murdering children. They were kidnapping children. They were trafficking children. They were sacrificing children. And they were doing this to adults as well. But this was focusing on the children, because they have always been bloodthirsty for children. It's a whole new ballgame now, says Annett. This isn't about trying to hold a dying system accountable anymore, but about creating a whole new world through a new covenant, Barit Chadashah, a renewed covenant. We're going to get to that. And there's a teaching on the new covenant that I have a few days back you can check into. Once we put church and state on trial, we really declared war on the entire system, he says. And like Napoleon once said, whoever makes a revolution halfway is just digging their own grave. So now we need not just our own peace officers to enforce our common law court verdicts. We need to mobilize humanity to take back our world and the law from the criminals who are destroying us and our children's future. And to do that, we need to recontract all our relationships. We need to enter into a new contract with all of our relationships. This is what covenant is about, a new agreement, a new understanding. Okay? It is imperative we understand how to move in this. So in truth, there are no more lawful authorities anymore. They've been nullified. Okay, this proclamation has nullified the entire corporate fiction, starting with Rome. Okay, this is where it all runs back to. All roads lead to Rome. We've been talking about this. Now, this is a bomb that is being dropped that is going to annihilate this fiction. Okay, this fiction. Okay, and this is a war of words. And we have to understand that. And we owe none of them allegiance. We owe none of them allegiance. We need to remake such authority from the ground up, from among ourselves. And the people shall take the reins, right? And the reign and the rulership and the greatness of all the reigns under all the heavens shall be given to the people, the set apart ones of the Most High. His reign is an everlasting reign, and all rulership shall serve and obey him. Who are you serving? Who are you obeying? This is what we have to understand, okay? And this is what he goes on to say. You know, we don't owe them any allegiance. We need to remake such authority from the ground up, from among ourselves. That's why we call it the new covenant. And that's what we've begun with the Maastricht Proclamation. This new covenant movement has two fronts, one legal, the other spiritual. And it calls these fronts the two arms of liberation. Humanity is sick and dying from the inside out, because we have forgotten our innate sovereignty and our bond with creation and the Creator. We've forgotten that, okay? We've gotten up in all this mess and forgotten the bond with our Creator, most importantly. Nobody can mediate or create that bond for another, and justice is an empty shell without the personal capacity to be a just and virtuous man or woman. You have to be just and virtuous, and the way that we understand that is through Torah, okay? Benjamin Franklin said that only a virtuous people could be self-governing, and we can see the attack on our morals completely. And if we're not able to be moral and virtuous, we're never going to be able to govern ourselves. Okay, the Father has given us dominion over all things, but the most important thing that we most importantly have to have dominion over is ourself. We have to govern ourselves first and foremost. For with personal corruption always comes political tyranny, because they can manipulate you to do whatever you have a desire to do. And if you don't have the control of your desires, you will be persuaded into political tyranny. So the new covenant recognizes itself as both a new law and a new spirit, one supporting and feeding the other. In the wake of the Maastricht Proclamation, this recovenanting movement The Covenanters is working actively to establish both common law courts and self-governing communities on the land that have declared their independence from existence authorities. As the seed of a new world, the Covenanters are working now in 21 countries alongside the International Common Law Court of Justice and its tribunal sponsor, the ITCCS, the International Tribunal into Crimes of Church and State. As for Kevin Annett, he is clearly a happy man. It's been a long night, but it's always good to see the day break. Now, I think it's important to read this actual proclamation. I'm going to read the proclamation. I'm not going to really get into the article so much, but there were three exorcisms that took place in Rome on the 20th, which was Easter Sunday, according to the Christian calendar. And of course, our observance of unleavened bread and the Passover had taken place already. But this is something that they recognize. And so let's go ahead and get into this proclamation, and then I'm going to go ahead and close it out. So it's available in 13 languages, interestingly. But it's a global emancipation made under the law of the Most High and man. Okay, so this is what was read in front of St. Martin's Church, the oldest cathedral and church in Rome. It says, invoking the legal and spiritual disestablishment of the Church of Rome and its adjunct bodies, the Vatican and the Holy See, and issued as a binding de jure annulment and emancipation order by the International Common Law Court of Justice and the Covenant of Free Congregational Christians on Easter Sunday, the 20th day of April in the year 2014. So this is coming from not only the International Criminal Law, Common Law Court of Justice. Okay, so this is a legal binding ruling that has been made. The International Common Law Court of Justice, but also the Covenant of Free Congregational Christians. But this is for believers. This is for really the people of the Most High. Okay, this is what they understand. This is to be publicly proclaimed and enacted. Not only proclaimed, but enacted. Let it be known and made effect by all men and women, persons and authorities, that under the supreme law of the Most High, as embodied in the common law of nature and natural rights, as of this day, again, April 20th, 2014, the institution and entity of the Church of Rome, its officers, clergy, adjunct and derivative bodies and corporate entity, is now and forever abolished and de-established as a corporate and a spiritual body. Weighty. That is very weighty. That is heavy. That has gravity. This is deep. Understand this movement that is taking place, and you would be wise to join on, because this is where the kingdom of heaven is going to come from. Not from this proclamation. It is our duty to reestablish it on earth, because the deception is over. All people and powers formerly under its authority and influence and owing it allegiance are now and forever emancipated and freed from such obligatory servitude. Having violated and waged unrelenting war on the Most High and humanity through its history of crime, murder, apostasy, child sacrifice, and idolatry, and thereby repudiated its covenanted requirement of duty to uphold the honor of heaven and earth and the life and dignity of mankind, the Church of Rome has nullified its own basis for existence and brought upon itself the status of a renegade transnational criminal organization in the eyes of the Most High and man, and under the laws of both heaven and earth. The ultimate authority of the Most High, as expressed in de jure common law courts of judgment and in congregations of just, truthful men and women, does thereby nullify the existence of the Church of Rome, the alleged apostolic succession, and it is so-called canon law. I've been having a conversation with someone. Peter, first of all, was not the first bishop. He was not the first bishop, okay, of Jerusalem. The first bishop of Jerusalem was Yaakov, okay? So Shimon Kepha, was not the first bishop, okay? The Messiah, when he was speaking with Kepha, told him, upon this rock I shall build my church. He's saying upon a faith like yours. And his assembly is his body. The people rule, not an individual. It is a body. Now there was a head over them, yes, a shepherd over them, yes, but that shepherd was not Kepha. That shepherd was Yaakov, or who was known as Yaakov HaZadik, a historical figure named James the Just, who was the bishop of Rome, who the Sadducees murdered, and the Pharisees were hot about the murder of this man, okay? So this apostolic succession of the papacy is false. Peter was not the first bishop, okay? And canon law is not the law that we are to follow. We are to follow Torah, okay? Here we go. Therefore, as of this day, all such laws, statutes, and all church offices and officials are declared to be forever abolished and possessing no effect or binding authority in heaven or on earth. They have no authority. All Church of Rome officials and agents, commencing with Jorge Bergoglio, so-called pontiff of the Church of Rome, every cardinal of the Roman Curia, the heads of the Vatican Bank, and Nicolas Adolfo Pachon, chief superior of the Jesuit order, are hereby ordered to immediately stand down from and relinquish their offices. This is a common law ruling, which trumps everything. Because most of these courts, all of these courts today are commercial civil law based, okay? They're operating on maritime law, which is the law of the sea, and it has no true legal binding because it has to be contractual. If you don't have a contract with them, it does not stick. Even if it's a criminal case, it's brought down to commercial matters, which is the Uniform Commercial Code, and it also makes it a civil law kangaroo fictitious court matter because none of the money's real, and if the money's not real, the laws can't be real, okay? And this is what this all comes down to. The wealth, property, and movable assets of the church are hereby forfeited and declared to be under the common ownership of the people of the world and may be peacefully seized and occupied by them. Let me read something again. It says, and the reign and the rulership and the greatness of the reigns under all the heavens shall be given to the people. The greatness of the reigns under all the heavens, which is under the Vatican right now, shall be given to the people, the set apart ones of the Most High. This is prophecy being fulfilled before our very eyes. If we're understanding what's taking place, and then our role to carry this forward and to move in this is what is happening as we speak. This is prophecy manifest, okay? Not destiny manifest or manifest destiny like these European devils. And I don't mean all Europeans are devils, but the European devils who carry forth manifest destiny under the Vatican have carried out. This is not what this is about. This is about justice. This is about truth. This is about righteousness. This is about order, okay? This is about restoring the kingdom of heaven on earth in a peaceful manner. We don't bring guns. We don't bring any weapons of war. Our weapons of war are not carnal, but they're mighty in overthrowing strongholds and taking every thought and making it submissive and obedient to Mashiach. That's what our warfare is, spiritual warfare. So every member, employee, and adherent of the Roman Catholic Church is hereby released from all of their vows, allegiance, and obligations to the Church of Rome and are free to gather and worship in whatever congregational form that the Most High and their conscience compels, separate from the disestablished Roman Church. The sheriffs and peace officers of lawful common law courts, assisted by the free people of the world, and henceforth are henceforth authorized and encouraged to enact and enforce this annulment and emancipation proclamation wherever possible, under the supreme and sovereign authority of the Most High and the law of nations. The people of Yah, who have been lost and held in bondage within the spiritual captivity of the false Church of Rome, are now free to assemble in covenanted congregations which stand solely under the law of the Most High and recognizing no other legitimate authority for the establishment of Yah's kingdom on earth. This is what this is all about. This is the prophecy that we're reading in Daniel 7 take place before our very eyes. Please understand this. The long night of spiritual tyranny and Vatican crime is over. Let the free people of the earth and all true servants of the Most High and Mashiach cleanse their lands of the lie and the murder formerly enthroned in Rome. Proclaimed and enacted on this Resurrection Sunday. This is what they're writing. We know he rose on first fruits and not on Sunday, but that's a different story. by the International Common Law Court of Justice with the collaboration of the Covenant of Free Congregational Christians, the Covenanters. Okay, this is all believers, really. You gotta understand this. This is a movement they've taken that's going to affect the world over. Okay, we have to now take part in it. This proclamation is accompanied by a third and final exorcism and spiritual reclamation ceremony in Rome and throughout the world on this Easter Sunday, April 20, 2014. In Coram Deo, invoked in Yah's presence, as the Most High wills it, it is accomplished. A lawful and binding act made under the divine and common law. The power to bind and free now resides in the Most High alone and through the Most High's free covenanted people. These two articles will be posted, but I want to read this one more time for you to really allow it to sink in. This is from Daniel 7, verses 26 and verse 27. It says, but the judgment shall sit. What was this? A judgment. Okay, this is what the Most High is going to use in order to allow his people to make the kingdom of heaven on earth a reality. But the judgment shall sit. They shall take away its rule. It's done. It's taken away. This is the prophecy. The Roman rule, the fourth beast rule, the Vatican's rule is over. They shall take away its rule, to cut off and to destroy until the end. And the reign and the rulership and the greatness of the heavens under all the, and the greatness of the reigns under all the heavens shall be given to the people. This is what this says here, right? This is now the people's movement, okay? The people's movement. It says the people of Yah who have been lost and held in bondage within the spiritual captivity of the false church of Rome are now free to assemble in covenanted congregations which stand solely under the law of the Most High, which is what his kingdom is based upon, in recognizing no other legitimate authority for the establishment of Yah's kingdom on earth. Okay, so it says the reign, the rulership, and the greatness of the reigns under all the heavens shall be given to the people, the set apart ones of the Most High. So here's the stipulation. You have to be set apart in the Most High. How do you set yourself apart? By keeping his commandments and his laws and his right rulings and his statutes. Okay? This is how you set yourself apart. This is the only way this will ever become a reality, because the kingdom is within. The law is written in our hearts. This is the new covenant, the law on our hearts. We talked about this in a previous study. I'm going to put that link on here as well so you can understand it, right? And it's also on our inward parts. And we are walking in the spirit of the law, in love. We're loving the Most High with all of our heart, soul, and strength. We're loving our neighbors ourselves. But this also requires carrying out justice, okay? So again, and the reign, verse 27, and the reign and the rulership and the greatness of the reigns under all the heavens shall be given to the people, the set apart ones of the Most High. His reign is an everlasting reign, and all rulership shall serve and obey him. I want to end with one last verse from Daniel. This is Nebuchadnezzar's dream that Daniel interpreted for him. This is Daniel. This is going to close it. Daniel chapter 2. We're going to look at verse 40 through 45. It reads as this. And the fourth reign is as strong as iron, because iron crushes and shatters all. And it has been as such. So like iron that breaks in pieces, it crushes and breaks all these. Yet as you see the feet and toes, so there's a little Achilles heel on this part. Yet as you see the feet and toes, partly of potter's clay and partly of iron, the reign is to be divided. But some of the strength of the iron is to be mixed in it, because you saw the iron mixed with muddy clay. Okay, this is people. It's mixed in with people. And as the toes of the feet are partly iron and partly of clay, so the reign is partly strong and partly brittle. They've made their own selves brittle. Okay. And as you saw iron mixed with muddy clay, they are mixing themselves with the seed of men. Okay. Like I said, this is the seed of man. but they are not clinging to each other, even as iron does not mix with clay, because there are informants coming from the Vatican themselves who has informed about or provided damning evidence about what the Vatican has done, okay, to children with this genocide and child trafficking and ritualistic murder that has taken place. And in the days of these sovereigns, the Allah of the heavens shall set up a reign which shall never be destroyed, nor the reign pass on to other people. It crushes and puts to an end all these reigns, and it shall stand forever, because you saw that the stone was cut out of the mountain without hands, and that it crushed the iron, the bronze, the clay, the silver, and the gold. This is the image of the beast, of course, of the great beast. The great Elah has made known to the sovereign what shall be after this, and the dream is true, and its interpretation is trustworthy. All we need is the sword of the tongue of our mouth, okay? Speak truth before power. Let them know that they have been deposed, and that the kingdom of heaven is at hand, because it is in us. So we have a duty to carry this forward in spirit and in truth, understanding the new covenant that we have to now enter into, not only with the Father, but with us, with also our fellow man, our neighbor, our brothers and our sisters who are truly of faith. So the division is going to be made that much more prominent, okay? It's going to be made that much more clear. And we have to stand firm in our righteousness, in the Torah. That's what our righteousness is. We have to stand firm in the Torah so that we can walk according to what the Father wants us to do, and be in the place, most importantly, as we talked about with the kingdom of heaven teachings, where he wants us to rule from. And so, man, it's a lot. It is a whole lot. But I pray that these words have been inspiring to you. They've been insightful. They've been enlightening. They've edified you, and they've also given you a charge to move forward, and more so of a boldness of righteousness and understanding how this proclamation has affected the earth. Okay, and we have now a duty to bring forth this kingdom. Okay, so let's move in that.